Board. Okay. Yay! Can you believe we're at week 5? Only one more week. Crazy. And we had a 2-week stint in there too. It's gone by so fast. So we are going to dive right in. Typically, week 5 is hostess coaching, and then week 6 is recruiting. But we decided as directors to switch it so that we could really make sure that we are able to follow up next week with any questions on recruiting. I know that's a topic that more of you are working on right now. You are pretty good with hostess coaching. Of course, we still have things we can work on always, but we thought we would switch it so we could have some more time to reflect and get back together next week on recruiting. So we're doing recruiting this week and then hostess coaching next week. So if the numbers on the handouts don't match up and they all say week 6, that's why. For you OCD people. Okay? Because it would drive me crazy. Okay, so we're going to get started. So if you would share, I had sent it out, so I'm hoping you had some time to think about it. But if you would share kind of a takeaway from looking over your numbers that make you money, and once you kind of put in your October, what your actual October numbers were versus your 3-month action plan, that you were able to see, okay, how did I do? Did I exceed in some areas? Did I meet my goals? Did I fall a little bit short in some areas? So I want you to think about, no, it doesn't matter if you didn't make it. I don't even want to hear about that. What I want to hear is what you're going to do differently this month to expect a different result. I never remember the definition, but it's something like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. It's not going to happen. So I want you to think about, based on your reflection piece of that area, of what area you want to work on the most, whether it's bookings, sales, average guest party spend, recruiting, following up. What is it that you're going to focus on, and what are you going to do differently this month to expect a different result? Okay, so we will start with Miss Veronica.
Well, I got my 1 recruit.
Woohoo!
But I was short on my PV this month. And I know it was because of my bookings. I had a couple cancellations and I didn't overbook. So it was hard for me to, I really didn't have a backup plan in place. And so it was hard for me to recoup what I knew I was going to lose by not having those bookings. And because of that, part of my November and my December is going to feel that effect because I wasn't able to book at the party. So I'm really struggling trying to find other ways to get bookings right now. So the booking blitz helped a little bit. I got a couple from that, so that's nice. I think as far as, what I need to do differently is I know I didn't apply myself as much as I should have, and as much as I could have. So part of that is, on my end. So I just need to put more into my business this month than I was able to last month.
Okay, you got it. We'll expect a rock star next month. You got it. All right, Seneca.
Very much similar to Veronica. I truly believe in what she said. Overbooking is very vital in our business that we need to do. If we're shooting for 4 bookings a month, we need to book 6. So when that 2 cancels, we still have our 4 on the book. So that I did have some cancellations as well. Didn't hit my numbers, but more the area is overbooking and getting those bookings. How I'm proceeding with that is through the purse game. I got the purses in, so really utilizing those. So cute. They really do like them, and just making sure I ask every customer sitting down with at the end with their order, making sure they enjoyed the party, and asking for booking. And then if it's not for them, who they know that might enjoy our products and earning free products. So
awesome, love it. All right, and I know when you're asking each person, you're going to get a different result next month.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, Jemaline.
Hey.
Hey.
So I actually I did okay. I didn't have the recruit, but I'm getting closer.
Woohoo!
I know, right? I am.
Jimmaline and I were talking. We're saying if 1 in 8, then if she's at 15, she's due for 2 yeses.
Yes. Yes, I'm waiting. I can't wait. I'm in great expectation. When I looked at when I did my sheet, I thought, oh, this looks really great. But I didn't have a party that was canceled. If I had, it would be different. So it was a realization for me that I really need to get a couple extras just in case. And I need to really plan on the PV and just really focus on making sure that happens, definitely, with just those extra parties per month. Fitting them in. Yeah, so it was a good realization. I will do this monthly just to kind of see where it's at, just so those numbers so I can see those numbers. That's not something we would do otherwise.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't have done. So it's good.
I love that. And I hope you guys will utilize these tools moving forward, because these are great tools that to really help you just provide. We don't have a boss standing over us, giving us performance reviews and, holding us necessarily accountable to these things. So we have to hold ourselves accountable. And so these tools and worksheets do that for us. So that's a great reminder to really utilize them in your business moving forward. Yay. All right, Jamie, are you driving? Be careful.
Thank you. I just got home.
Okay, good.
For me, I had a realization whenever the question was, how many people did I individually offer the opportunity to, or how many people did I ask to book a party? And I wasn't asking every guest one-on-one, and I think that my challenge was figuring out how to stay in the room and be available to everybody, but at the same time offer that one-on-one checkout service. So I'm going to try just kind of finding a spot in the corner of the room maybe, and having people come to me, and then being able to have those individual conversations, but also be available to the group to make sure that I am offering, just handing them that information and then following up with them. So I think that'll help me reach my recruiting goal. My goal was 3, and I only had 2. So that's mine.
It's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. And we had our call yesterday. So we talked about, I always tell everyone, I just kind of make it a joke. And so if I'm sitting on the fireplace or if I'm sitting on the floor, I'll just be like, well, come into my office and just have them sit down next to me. But it kind of gives me that set spot to kind of have that relationship with each person as I'm checking them out. So, yay. All right, Penny. Oh, wait, is Penny there? Oh, there she is. Hey.
I'm going to work on booking, more bookings, because I think if I book more and contact more people, then my numbers will go up and it'll be better for me. So more contacts and more bookings are what I'm going to focus on.
Okay, so what are you going to do this month to make that happen?
Contact more people, because I don't contact enough people, I think, to be able to get all of the bookings that I need.
Okay, great. All right, well, the 3 contacts a day is a great place to start. And if you can't do it one day, 6 the next day, I know sometimes it doesn't work to necessarily do it every day, but that's a great kind of number to keep in your mind that you can work towards for that. Awesome, thank you. All right, Lacey.
Okay, sorry for interrupting your call earlier, by the way.
No worries.
I really need to work on sales, not just from parties, just like from handing out catalogs and following up with random people that I meet. And I also need to work on overbooking, and I'm going to do that just by, or I'm going to increase the sales by just keep following up with people that I interact with, and then I'm going to overbook by just making more contacts a day and making more phone calls.
Okay, great. And how did the booking books go?
It went really well. I made 3 parties for January. I'm really excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I love how Veronica had said, it really does have, when we have we don't quite have as many parties as we were wanting, it has that ripple effect, because if we can't play the purse game or do the booking games, the dice game at the parties, then we're not necessarily getting those parties for December and January. So for January, make it a huge goal that you're really getting those bookings at your party, and that's going to be huge on keeping yourself going.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. All right, and Lessa, are you here with us, sweet girl?
Sorta.
Okay. She had surgery, so she's resting.
Doing the best I can with what I got right now. So I apologize for not getting to join all your beautiful faces right now. But I felt like I could not be on this call. Unfortunately, I didn't hit my numbers like I had planned. And I know that's not a good enough excuse. But my intentions for working after doing the homework and reviewing everything is bookings and making sure I'm overbooking, because I found that I have kind of a high cancellation rate, even though my parties are averaging 85-16 a guest. So I know it's there. It's just a matter of potentially me doing better coaching on my end and being more paint glove assertive than what I have. My intentions for applying this right now at this time, after my booking blitz that I did on Thursday, due to me knowing I wouldn't be very available come Friday, I have 12 girls that signed up to do the turkey trot for me on starting Wednesday.
Yay, that's
So
awesome.
I am praying that with that, I break my numbers, first time since I've been with 31, and that gives me a jump start for December. I also have 2 parties for January that I didn't have, and 1 for February, even without the catalog being here. So at this point, I'm kind of more or less working from home and in bed until further doctor's orders. And getting myself mended before I start pushing hard.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And it sounds like you have a great plan in place to really work on for right now of what you need to do. And that's the beauty of 31, is you can work it around what you need at the time.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll continue to be praying for you. Okay. Well, we are going to jump in with week 5, all on recruiting. So Holly is actually going to kick it off for us and start with sponsoring tips. So you should have a handout to go along with that if you want to get that one out. And then Holly is going to share with us some training on sponsoring tips.
Okay, I didn't know I was going first. Okay. It's been a crazy day at our house. So sponsoring is one of those things that is very crucial to our business. It's one of the 3 things that we need to be doing on a consistent basis. And so you should be sharing the opportunity with everybody. That means every lady at your party that you come into contact with, you should be sharing that opportunity. Sponsoring is something that is part of, or it's based on relationship building. So it's more of a place where you need to listen and not necessarily do as much talking, because it's all about what's in it for her, not necessarily us. We have to take ourselves out of it and think about how is this going to benefit her. So if we stop talking and really listen, we're going to be able to figure out what their need is, why they're maybe interested in joining 31, and help them fill that need. There's a lot of different reasons that people join a direct sales business, whether it's to get a discount, maybe they want to, make their car payment, maybe they have extracurricular activities that they want to pay for. But it says on your handout here that the number 1 reason people join a direct sales business is simply because somebody asked them. And so it also says the number 1 reason people don't join is because nobody asked them. So when you're at your party, one of the things that you can do is share your story. Why did you join 31? And just really make it, they talked about at conference about storytelling. So just share your story with them, and be sure to drop seeds throughout your presentation so that, their interest is piqued a little bit into what 31 can do for them. And the more you practice those seeds, the easier it becomes for you, the more natural it is in your conversations, not just at parties, but even when you're talking and interacting with people on a daily basis. And one of the other things on here that I love is that it's our job to offer the opportunity, and it's their job to either accept it or to decline it. So that's just our focus, is we want to make sure that we're offering it to everybody, but ultimately it's up to them whether they accept it or decide not to partake at this time. Let's see. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. One of the things they talk about here on this handout is think about it packets. And I have those with me at all times. I have 3 in my my bag, and I have some in my car also. And inside those, they suggest keeping like a mini catalog, the opportunity brochure. I don't do that necessarily. I put the recruitment flyer in there. And then the income disclosure statement and a sticky note as a way to get their contact information. But having those with you when you're out and about, and even at the parties, make that a goal to give those packets out so that you're sharing the opportunity with everybody. So that's kind of all I got. So
Perfect. Thanks, Holly. One of the things on your handouts, the beginning of the second paragraph, I love this. I love that it says sponsoring is not convincing someone to join. It's not putting pressure on people. It's not begging or pleading or stalking. It is all part of relationship building, which is what 31 is all about. So if you are putting pressure, if you're trying to convince, if you're begging, pleading, or stalking, stop it. That is not, I would beg to differ that is not how you all were recruited. And so we want to make sure if we're thinking about them and how it's going to benefit them, it completely changes how we share. Jimeline, would you just share really quick what we talked about last week about kind of how you're going to share about it in your parties for your storytelling portion, or what felt comfortable for you?
Right. So for me, just getting used to planting those seeds, offering the gift, because that's what was offered to me. And stating it is a gift as well really helped me to understand that there's no pressure in a gift. That, and then, is that what you meant?
Yeah, I remember when you said, when you were sharing it as a gift, it made you feel like you could share that with anyone.
Anyone. Absolutely. There was no pressure in that.
Yeah. And so I think finding, Jillian and I talked a lot about, we all have different strengths or things we focus on. And when you're recruiting from the heart, when your heart is really what's driving you in the business, you're going to be thinking about what's best for them. Of course, are you benefiting from it as well? Yes, that's the beauty of 31, is it's a win-win relationship. As they're joining, that's helping you. But when you're thinking about it in terms of not, I need one more to promote, but who needs extra money right now? Who needs this girl time in a community to be a part of? Who needs to grow in their confidence and to see that they can speak in front of people? When you're thinking about it in that way, it completely changes how you approach and talk to people. Okay? What I always kind of think about it, if we're thinking about our 31 business as our body, then I think about the parties are the heart. They're the heart of our business. If we don't have parties, we're dead. We have to have parties. Parties are our lifeline, and that is really the heart of who we are. That's what our entire business model is built around. Well, I think of recruiting as the brain. It is the smartest way to make the most amount of money in this business, okay? So your heart and your brain are pretty important. I think of catalog parties, online parties, vendor events, fundraisers, all those kinds of things are your arms and your legs. You need your arms and your legs. We want arms and legs. But, you know, we could live without those things, but we cannot live without our heart and we cannot live without our brain. And so if you're able to really think about, okay, the parties are the heart, but the brain is the smartest way to make the most amount of money, and it's what kind of drives your whole business, then that's really going to help you to put into perspective why it's so important. And it really is that whole working smarter, not harder. Although I kind of don't like that because you are working hard as well, but it is a working smarter kind of a piece. And I just love Phyllis O'Neill. You've seen her name at the bottom of all of these handouts. She's an SED 2 above us, an SED in our lineage. And when she created this training program, and I got it from her, she had started 31 2 years prior. Well, a year before she started 31, they filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy. They went completely broke. They lost their house. They lost everything. And 31 completely changed their life. And she shared, this was 3 years ago, so who knows even what it is now, but that she made, when she did this, her commission check for that month was $40,000. That's 1 month. That's crazy. She had filed bankruptcy 3 years earlier, okay? So I think understanding the brain part of the business of how that is where you're going to make the most amount of money is recruiting. It changes your view on it. It's not of should I anymore, but it's I will do this because I know how it's going to affect them and I know how it's going to affect me. I shared with my directors last year. I was in conference 3 years ago and was in a training class with Amanda Graves, one of our NEDs. If you haven't listened to any of her 31-minute calls or follow her on Facebook, do it. She's super inspiring. But she said what she did when she first started is she would go to these meetings and she would hear people, talk about real money. Because, people think, oh yeah, you make like a couple $100. Like they don't understand. Like this. I love the stat. 80% of women who make $100,000 or more did it through direct sales. That's huge. And people don't realize that. And so she shared that she was challenged to write a $10,000 check to herself and put it on her desk of where she would see it every day. And did she believe that that could actually happen? And it did for her. And so I did the same thing. And last month was my first month. I made $10,000. And that was amazing to see that goal realized and to realize that that can happen. That is, and I make probably one of the lowest of the SEDs because I knew. So just to see what kind of potential is out there and what it really does and how it's changing our lives and changing others' lives is huge. So I really want you, we don't talk about money a lot, but I kind of think we should talk about it more because money talks. And I know it's inspiring to me when I hear about it from other people. So, make sure that you really are, not that any of us are in it just for the money, but that's a big piece of it. And that's a big reason why a lot of people join is because they need extra income. So, and people don't necessarily see that at the beginning, but they need to know that you can make real money with direct sales. The other thing I would mention is recruits are everywhere. For example, let's see, I'll just share about where my directors came from, and then any of the directors on here share about where you came from. Let's see, Melissa, okay, I didn't even recruit her. She was a roll-up. So one of my childhood friends joined in Iowa, and she ended up falling off, and so Melissa rolled up to me. So Melissa is a great example of why your indirect recruits are so important. Indirect recruits are recruits of recruits, if that makes sense. So I did not recruit Melissa, but because my recruit recruited her, then when my recruit fell off, Melissa rolled up to me. So that's a huge reason of why your indirect recruits are so important. Jamie Jaco is one of my directors, and I got connected with her through a blog review and giveaway that she joined, which actually I just started again tonight on moneysavingmom.com if you want to go check it out afterwards. Let's see. Teresa was a home office lead. Patty was a home office lead. And Elizabeth was a home office lead. So 3 of my 5 directors were home office leads. That's huge. Samantha, share with us how you got connected. How were you shared?
I went to a friend's party that I was not planning on going to until like just last minute. I needed something to go do and ended up going. And I'd never been to a 31 party before. I'd heard of it, but I didn't really know anything about any of the stuff. And Melissa was the consultant for the party, and she asked me about booking a party. I decided to book one. She offered the opportunity to me. I said, you know, maybe. She followed up with me, I don't know, probably a few days later, and I joined.
That's and that is the power of asking every person at the party.
Yep. And I mean, that was the thing. It's like, it's not like I was offended or I didn't feel like, oh gosh, she asked me that question. It was like, oh, you know, yeah, maybe. I have thought about it before, you know, so it's just, yeah, I'm really glad she asked.
That's awesome. Holly, what about you?
I had been invited to a party, Tiffany Conlon's party, and I walked in and I didn't even really look at any of the stuff. I just kind of marched up to Vanessa Wadke, who's no longer with us, but and I said, I want to have a party. And so we booked a party, and right before my party, my oldest daughter had been in the hospital with pneumonia. And so at the party we were talking, and she mentioned, you know, that 31 might be a way to provide some extra income to help pay for the medical bills that we were getting. And so she left some information with me, and my husband and I talked about it, and I thought, you know, why not? I mean, we're not out anything. If it doesn't work out, I get to keep everything in the kit. And so we just decided to give it a go. So
Holly's another example of an indirect recruit to Melissa. So she joined under someone else. That person fell off, but guess what? Holly became a director for Melissa. So that's where your indirect recruits have huge power. Jen, what about you? Oh, you're on mute. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. I, as sort of a home office lead, I was looking for just looking around at direct sales stuff to do, and I found 31 on like I Googled it or something, and realized I had a Square utility tote from a long time ago when a friend of mine was selling it, and I was like, wow, I love that bag. That's great. And so I knew Jennifer Recker, who I think she's still a consultant. She was under Elizabeth. I knew her from like a mom's Facebook swap group. And so I just messaged her and I said, hey, I think I want to join your team. Will you call me? So clearly she called me. And that was it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's another one, kind of a home office lead. And then Nia's on. Nia, oh, and you know what, Teresa, I take that back. Teresa was actually from a vendor event. So there's power in the vendor events. Teresa was from a vendor event. Nia, how did you join?
I actually was doing another direct sales business, and there was a girl next to me who had a 31 table, and I gave her my info because I wanted to host exclusive, so I wanted to host a party. And she never followed up with me. And then fast forward like 6 months later, a coworker and friend had a party, and Teresa was the consultant at the party, and I still wanted that hostess exclusive, so I booked a party. At my party, Teresa asked me, you know, if I wanted to turn it into like my launch party, and she offered to give it to me, and I was like, no. And then one day I just went online randomly and joined.
And she was like, what? That girl just joined. Yeah, it was crazy. So that's just a little sampling of recruits come from everywhere. So you never know where your next recruit's going to come from. So whether you're doing a vendor event, whether you're doing a blog review, whether you're asking each person at the party, whether you're taking care of your recruits, these are your teammates and your future leaders. So take good care of them. Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the sponsoring interview. So you have the handout that kind of talks about this. I'm going to go a little bit off script because, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Before we do that, Nia, would you share your tip on your recruiting packets real quick?
Yes. So at my parties, I am doing the Death by Chocolate, or I have like an adapted one that's with a can of soup. So right now I'm using that one for the holidays, and then all those canned goods go to a local food shelter. But they're the same as far as playing the game, where one of the seeds, so to speak, within it is that if they ask you for a no-risk opportunity packet, they get bonus points. And so that's one opportunity where I can give them a package about the 31 business opportunity. And then also at checkout, I give it to everyone unless they're like no and adamant about not taking the information. In my packet, what I currently have is the Better Together Start 12 flyer. I have a kind of like a letter that talks about what the items are that come in the enrollment kit, and that you can join for a discount, you can join for a hobby, you can join to start a new business opportunity. It's your business, it's really up to you. And I just briefly talk about how you can get additional kits through our Start 12 program. And then I have the opportunity flyer and the opportunity brochure and a mini catalog. And when I give these packages out, I let the individual know that I'm going to be following up with her in 24 to 48 hours to just see if she has any questions about it. And they're usually okay with that. And I need to make sure that I'm doing exactly what I tell them I'm going to do and follow up within 24 to 48 hours. So I've had some good feedback from it, and it just gets the information into everyone's hands, and it definitely creates additional questions about our business opportunity when people look through it.
Question, Nia, when you do follow up 24 to 48 hours later, how do you do it and what do you say?
For the most part, it's like, did you have an opportunity to review the package of info that I gave you? Yes or no. If they say yes, I ask them if they had any questions. If they say no, then I just kind of go high level over what is included in it. And then I'll ask them, do you think that 31 is something that you would be interested in pursuing? Would you be willing to give it a try? Even if you just have like one party, a launch party, and see if it's for you or not. I kind of go that route.
Got it. Love it. I know that that was probably going to be someone's question is, okay, but what do I do when I follow up? So thanks for sharing that.
And I try to make it like, no pressure. Just, I have been using the recruiting Strong Start from our director's retreat. And if they show interest, then I start going into that and use that as my guide.
Awesome. And that's what we're going to talk about next. So perfect segue. Okay, so like I said, we're going to go a little bit off script here. This is still a great sponsoring interview to follow, but I learned from Leadership Council last year from Amy Neal, who is my home office coach. She kind of shared with us how she did the recruiting interview and the Strong Start call with her new consultants. And she had, which this is just crazy, over an 18-year period in the industry, she had a 95% peaker rate. What? That's crazy. So this works. 95% over 18 years peaked. So this is definitely a great system to use. So for all of you right now, this is something your directors are doing with your recruits. But as you gain confidence with this, we would love for you to start tanking it on so that you're ready when you're the director to really implement this with your team. But I want you to know right now, don't feel like, oh my gosh, this is like a ton, get your feet wet, but know that this is what your director is doing with your recruits right now when they join. So to kind of go over it, and just to backdrop on Amy, she was with Pampered Chef. That was the company that she was with, and she was basically like an equivalent to an NED in their company. And she made millions. I mean, she was very successful. She went to 18 Pampered Chef parties before a consultant offered her the opportunity. 18 parties. And she said, I know exactly why the consultants never offered me, because I didn't spend hardly anything because I didn't have money. and I was the one that sat in the back quiet because I was insecure. And she was like, direct sales was exactly what I needed because I needed money and I needed to grow in my confidence. And she became an NED in their company. So that's just another great example of not prejudging anyone. She didn't spend any money at all, and she never spoke. Those are the people who are like, they never want to do it. You never know. So give the compliment to every single person of offering it. And that's what she said. She said, I felt like I wasn't good enough to get asked. I would see other people getting asked. So give everyone the compliment of asking every single person, because you don't know if they're watching and wondering why they didn't get asked. Okay? Okay, so first off, we're going to go over, kind of take a side note to that new consultant tracking form that I forwarded you. I forwarded it after I sent the email, so you might not have gotten it. This was a form. We learned about this, or I trained on it at our director's retreat last year. And so I believe Melissa and Jen and maybe some others, they all kind of compiled this while we were at retreat to kind of give a basic guideline and format. Somebody has a little bit of background noise.
Probably me. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Okay, so the first thing is the recruiting interview. So basically this is like the first time, basically if you're following up with that lead 24 to 48 hours after you've given them a packet at the party, or if it's a home office lead that you're following up with, or someone who has shown interest, basically whenever you have a recruiting lead, this is kind of what you're going to do with them when you contact them, okay? And of course, in person or on the phone is the best. So if you want to set it up through text or set it up through Facebook, but when you actually do this recruiting interview, and you're not going to call it a recruiting interview, don't let them know, I'm doing a recruiting interview with you now. But we know that's what it is. You want to do it on the phone or in person, okay? First thing you want to know is get to know them. This is a relationship business. If you were at conference, we learned about form, family, occupation, relationship. What was M? M. Can't remember what M was. If anybody thinks about what M was, let me know. But
It's message.
What was it?
When I talked to Heidi last week, she said it was message. Like, I'd have to look at my notes again, but that's what she gave me, was M was for message.
Maybe like what they're about, like if they're in MOPS or if they're in like maybe kind of.
I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Again.
Okay. Well, whatever that is, do that. Okay. So get to know the person. Okay. Whatever it is that you feel comfortable talking about. Okay. Teresa says all the time, she's like, I just always go to kids first. Cause she's like, I have 6 of them. I mean, you want to talk about kids? So whatever it is you feel comfortable with, talk about that first, but you want to get to know them. So tell me a little bit about you and your family. Do you work outside of the home? You know, think through what are some of those starter questions you can have ready to ask. Okay. Then you're going to, after you've had some time just building the relationship, nothing about 31 to start with. Then you're going to ask her, you know, what attracted you to 31? Or if it's a home office lead, you know, what intrigued you to want to find out more about 31? Or if you gave them a packet at the party, you know, what did you think about the party and as you looked through the recruiting information? So basically, you know, whatever it is, what attracted you, what intrigued you, we're not asking yes or no questions, okay? We want to create quite open-ended questions that bring out dialogue, all right? Focus on her needs. Then you're going to talk about, you know, I would love, I'm having my notes here, so I'll make sure I'm following it. I would love to help you see how 31 could make an impact in your family, in the life of your family. So you're going to kind of talk to her about herself, talk to her about what attracted her to 31, and then say, you know, I'd love to help you explore further to see if 31 might be a good fit and to help you reach whatever goal or whatever it is she had talked about or what she had, she said had attracted her to 31 to start with. So you can talk about, you know, and you can give them starter ideas. You could say, you know, would making a couple extra $100 a month be helpful to you? Do you need some girls' night out? You know, you can kind of prompt her on what our different whys are typically to give her some ideas of, you know, how she could see 31 fitting into her life. Okay, she needs to be talking 80% of the time. If you realize that you've been talking too much, ask a question and stop. So make sure that you're asking questions and not talking in statements yourself, okay? Then what I will always say is kind of this isn't on here, but one of my questions is when we've talked about her, we've talked about what intrigued her about 31. Is there anything standing in your way of just giving 31 a try? That's my go-to line. Is there anything standing in your way of just giving 31 a try? And what that does is it brings out any obstacle or any insecurity or fear that she has that you can talk through at that time. But it also shows that you're not asking her to sign a contract in life's blood. Okay, she's giving this a try. So is there anything standing in your way of just giving 31 a try? All right, and see what she says. Depending on what she says, that's going to be what you're going to talk about next. Okay? If she, so depending on what she says, if she, says, well, I am, I might want to give it a try, or I'm thinking about it. If she goes down that road, or after you talk about the obstacle, she talks about that. Then you can say, well, Denise, would you like to receive your first paycheck on December 10th or right before Christmas? You're not asking her, do you want to join? Okay, you're basically saying the same thing in that statement, but you're bringing it back to a financial. As most people, the reason they want to join is for extra money. So you're bringing it back to reality of you're going to make a paycheck. This is something that you can make money. So, and you always pick the next 2 dates, coming up. Would you like to receive your paycheck December 10th or right before Christmas? And then they might be like, well, wait, I don't know if I want to join or what. But then, they already have their mind thinking that it's kind of, you assume the sale. You assume the yes. Okay, you're not asking them, what do you think? Do you want to? But you're assuming the sale, and you're letting them, say whatever they want, but you're not like, well, do you think you might want to do this? I mean, what do you think? I mean, you're not giving them an out, basically apologizing while you're asking. Okay? Be confident. It takes practice, but you want to assume that they're going to say yes. Why wouldn't they? This is a gift. We know that it is. We know how much product and cash they make in their first 4 months. Why wouldn't they want to try it? That's what we need to believe in our hearts, because that's going to affect how we share it. Okay? If they say yes, great. If they say no, great. You can say, I really appreciate you taking the time of letting me share more, and I need VIP customers and hostesses. So I know that's going to be you. So thank you so much for letting me share. And if and when down the road you find that 31 might be the right fit, I'll always be here for you. Okay? If they say yes, we'll talk about that in a minute. If they say maybe, or I don't know, or something of an unsure, okay, that is the hardest place to be. We either want a yes or a no. We can deal with those. And people are so afraid to say no, and I'm like, no's totally fine. That's okay. I need customers and hostesses. Everyone can't join. So, I don't tell them no is totally fine. But in my response, I make sure they know and that they see that they are valued, and that's completely 100% okay. But when they say, I don't know, it kind of puts you in a limbo of not knowing how to follow up. So what Amy taught us to say is, Denise, thanks so much for listening and for sharing with me. If you say yes, I will be your cheerleader, 100% behind you. And I know that we're going to be able to help you, make that extra $300 a month or earn that free product. If you say no, I really respect your letting me share with you, and you can be my VIP customer or hostess. But when you say, I don't know, I'm not sure how to follow up with you or what best you need. So could we explore a little bit further about what you're unsure about? Okay, so you're not just letting them off the hook. You're not just saying, okay, you're going to dig in a little bit deeper in a respectful way to uncover what that insecurity or what she's unsure about, so that you can help guide her towards a yes or a no. And if it's a no, that's okay. A no is way better than an I'm not sure. Trust me. Because then you have this list of I'm not sure people that you don't know what to do with. So that's an art. It's not a science. It takes practice of learning to be comfortable and learning how to guide people in questions. So that's something that I want you to practice, though, is not letting them end with, I'm just not sure, or well, maybe down the road, but going a little bit further of helping direct them towards a yes or a no. Okay? Did I miss anything, directors, on the recruiting interview part? Or anything else that you guys add in that's worked really well for you?
I don't necessarily add anything else in unless it's things that are off the cuff based on a relationship that I have with them or a common person or something. But I do definitely always want to make sure that I touch on that question of like, what's keeping you from joining? Because there's usually something, like one specific thing that's keeping someone. And it's a lot of times it's the things that we always, the objections we always hear. It's money, it's time, it's, you know, I have to talk to my husband, things like that. But every time I've used that, you know, what's keeping you, that person and I have been able to come up with like a game plan of how to overcome that one thing that they're looking at. And almost always they decide to join or agree that they will be joining the team. You know, not every single person joins, but I think that's a really important question.
Awesome. Anybody else?
I was going to say, I even kind of talked to Amy Neal a little bit about this at conference about the getting to know you part of it, of like being careful. Like I have found, I mean, I've actually had people hang up on me during that part of like the get to know you, because they're just like, who are you? Why are you asking me these questions, kind of thing. So yeah, like, I mean, I literally had it twice. And I'm also more of like a get to the point kind of person. And so for me, like Teresa Evans could totally like talk to anybody about anything and everyone's going to love it. But like, I'm more of like so for me, like, so you need to be authentic to who you are. Like for me, it's better probably to just more introduce who I am, say a little bit why I'm like, kind of get to the point, like, why am I calling them? Why am I talking to them? Because a lot of times I had girls saying, hey, my friend wants to talk to you. And then I would call them, but there was not a lot of precursor of why I was calling them or a bridge between me and that person. And so to create a bridge, I kind of needed to get to the point of, hey, I'm calling about 31. I know you went to a party, and kind of get into that a little bit more and maybe talk more about that before you get into and how many kids do you have? Because
right.
they didn't have a reason to want to tell me why they had kids or how many kids they had.
No, that's a good point. And I think it's also a good point that if you have not had someone hang up on you yet, it's a badge of courage. I've had it. I just had it last week. So it's okay. That's going to happen. If you're making enough calls, that you should get some. If you haven't had somebody hang up, you're not making enough calls. Or you're just a really nice person. Anybody else have a thought on that? Okay. How many of you have done something like this? When you give out packets at the party, when you follow up, you're having some kind of a conversation like this, or you've met with a lead and you've talked to them, you've done this recruiting interview, so to speak, whether you knew you were doing it or not. Has anyone done this? Okay, so none of our leading ladies raised their hands, so guess what? If you implement that, your recruiting numbers are going to change. And I know for all of you, that's one of the number one areas that you want to improve. So it's going to take stepping out of your comfort zone. It's going to take practice. But first of all, if you're offering it at your party to everyone, you're giving the packet to everyone, you're following up within 24 to 48 hours with everyone, and you're doing this recruiting interview with everyone on the phone or in person, not over text or email, your recruiting numbers are going to change. They just flat out are. When I've met with people in person, I need to go back over the past 6 months and kind of add in my stats, but I did it before because when I spoke on stage at conference, I had to figure it out. I had a 90% rate of people joining when I met with them in person. And I think it was something like 70% on the phone. It was something terrible with email and Facebook. I mean, it happens sometimes. But by far, in person or on the phone, much higher rate because they're getting to know you. They feel comfortable. You're not some random form letter emailing them. Okay? So that's going to make a huge difference if you start working that into your business. Your recruiting numbers will change. 1 in 8 is going to happen. Think about it. If you're doing this recruiting interview with 8 people, doesn't it make sense that one person's going to say yes? Yeah. It's just a numbers game at that point. So make sure that you're doing this with each person. Okay? It's going to take time, but guess what? This is the income producing activities that we want you spending time on. Do your hostess packets while you're watching a movie. Use your office hours to do this kind of thing. Okay? Okay. Then we kind of go into the strong start part. I think for the sake of time, I'm not going to go over this part, and this is something more that your directors are definitely, they might not be able to do the recruiting interview with your girls before they join, because obviously they're not necessarily in contact with them before they join. So this is something we really want you to all be working on. Of course, your director is more than happy to do this with you. If you want to set up a 3-way Zoom call, or if you're local, if the 3 of you can meet for coffee, if you want to include your director in this and you think that would help, they would love to do that. But this is something we want you to work on. The strong start call is something we can talk about later, but once your recruit joins, then this is something your director will be contacting them and doing with them, since they are their director right now, to help get them off to a good start. So you can read over that, but that isn't something you need to take on right now in your business. The recruiting interview is really where you want to focus your time. Okay? Any other thoughts or questions on that one? And just a side note on the strong start calls, those are huge. So just know when you do have someone join and let them, first of all, set your director up for success by letting them know, okay, my director is going to be contacting you. This is who she is. She wants to make sure you get off to a great start. We're going to partner together so that when we contact them, they're not like, who are you? So set us up for success, and that will help for when we contact them to be able to get our relationship started off to a good place. Directors, anything else that would be helpful to mention to the girls to help set you up before doing those strong start calls for their girls? Okay. Melissa, will you share with us your follow-up tip?
Just kind of my tips was really to obviously Fortune's in the follow-up, and a girl joined earlier this year. She was actually a catalog party order for me, and basically I had just kind of contacted her after the party and thanked her for her order. I saw that she lived like 5 hours from me, and so I just thanked her and had reached out to her, and then she ordered again from me like 6 months after her original order. So at that point I called her, and she was very adamant, like, no, I don't want to join 31. I've tried this before. But at that point, as we were talking, I really got to know her. And I was just talking to her about how 31 is based on Proverbs 31. And, I asked her, I said, I think you should go pray about this. I think I want it to be a fit for you. And I think she really appreciated just my honesty with her about it, and just making sure she knew that I wanted it to be a good fit for her. I don't like to put, obviously none of us like to push anything on people. I want it to be something that is right for them, right for their family. And, and so I was just real honest with her, but I was able to really get some good conversation in with her when she lived 5 hours away. And the big thing that started off was she said she loved the product and wanted to have a home party. And I wasn't about to go looking for someone to do a home party for her. I wanted to convince her that she could do it on her own. And so that was my jumping off point. And, we kind of went back and forth for a month and a half about it. And finally, she kind of came back and just said, yeah, I think I can do this. I think I'm ready. And so, and that was an order from a catalog party of a girl that I hardly knew. So you really want to make sure you're, looking at your orders and following up. If someone randomly orders from you, follow up with them, find out, especially if they don't live near you, like that's a great for a recruit, because, first talk to them about booking a party, and then kind of get that recruiting interviewing going with them and going through it with them. And, and I did go through that with her when I was on the phone with her, of just, what's stopping you from doing it, and all of that stuff. And so, and then we did also talk about like, okay, let's go ahead and think about your parties, and let's get your 3 parties booked before you join, kind of thing. And so, but I would just make sure you're following up with people that are ordering from you, regardless of where they are. And I think Kirsten and I talked about this too, of like wanting to spread our territories as well. Like, you want people from all these different areas for you, because that's going to be it's going to be helpful for you to kind of spread it out a little bit too. And so check those people that live far from you.
I love people that live far from me. So write in on the recruiting interview really quick before I forget, kind of before you ask would you like to receive your first paycheck, kind of just draw an arrow and make sure that the question that you're asking, in whatever way feels comfortable for you, is there anything standing in your way of just giving 31 a try? Okay? If you're not asking that to every single person in your follow-up, start doing it now. And then a lot of times for us as directors, when we're doing the recruiting interview, we'll go right into the Strong Start call and help them think about, if I could attach $150 to every party, how much would you like to make in a month? And if they're like, I'd like to make $500, then I'll say, okay, that's 4 parties a month. How does 1 party a week sound? And we break it down for them. So, I will sometimes go right into the Strong Start call. So if that makes sense for the person you're talking to, by all means, you can do this Strong Start call. You don't have to just have your director do it. If you feel comfortable, practice it. You can go right into it. But it's kind of, the recruiting interview is kind of a natural bridge into the Strong Start call. So don't feel like you have to, but definitely if it makes sense, of course, if you can talk to them about getting their party set and on the books before they even join, that's going to get them off to a great start. Okay? Launch +2. Launch party +2 parties before they join will help them get off to a great start. Just another side note on that. This is a crazy stat. 90% of consultants within the past 4 years that have earned all 4 levels of Start Swell are now directors. 90%. So when you have girls that know how to meet goals and are working towards Start Swell every single month and early on are meeting goals, those are typically future leaders. So first of all, keep a watch out for your girls that have met all 4 levels. Second of all, make sure that you're teaching your girls how to set those small goals to start with and reach those Start Swell goals, because we know if they meet goals early on, they more than likely will continue to do that, and 90% of them become directors. That's a pretty crazy statistic. Okay? All right, Samantha, roots of success. You have a handout to go along with that as well.
Yeah, this kind of goes back to when we had, you guys remember that worksheet we had that was wide and deep, and so it had the little girls on it going across and then down. So your roots are I guess if you're a director, they're all are your generation 0, but your direct recruits are kind of the roots of your business. So, and then if you think about it as like a tree, then the branches are your recruits. So when you're building your team deep, so wide is your personal recruits, and then deep is that's kind of the branches. I don't know if that makes sense. So it kind of talks about that a little bit, but really for sponsoring new people, you always have to be planting seeds. So Holly kind of talked about that a little bit a while ago, of always planting those seeds. So that's making sure that you're offering it to, at every party. And then I think just paying attention to any conversation that you're having with somebody. Last week I was at my daughter's gymnastics, and there was another mom there. Her son was in my daughter's class, and she was talking to me about having my baby because I had Vance with me, and we just got to talking, and I asked her if she worked outside the home, and she said no, and she asked me if I did, and I mentioned that I did 31, and she said, oh yeah, I've always kind of thought maybe I should do something like that. And so I'm like, oh, okay. And so we set up a play date, and she came over today. And so, of course, like I kind of watered that seed a little bit, and I gave her a catalog, and I talked to her about it a little bit, and I'm planning on following up with her. And so I think just paying attention to that, because I think that kind of makes me really nervous. Recruiting's, probably of booking, selling, and recruiting is the thing that I'm least comfortable with. And so it would have been really easy for me to just like not, follow up with her about that. Because I think I always worry about being pushy. But then I know that if I'm worried about that, I'm probably not being that way. So I think just paying attention to conversations that you have with people wherever you are out and about. I know even like Lacey with that gal that you ran into at Walmart in the flower aisle, you just never know what that could turn into. So I think just making sure that you're planting seeds everywhere and then following up with people. And then one thing I want to point out on that handout that you want to think about is interviewing your potential recruits. So we just talked about the recruiting interview, but it's not our job to ever decide like somebody's not right for 31. We should be offering it to everybody and letting them decide. But if you're working towards directorship, you want to make sure that you're recruiting, strong recruits, people that are actually going to want to work their business and help your team grow. I've definitely had girls join my team that, I've maybe given them their party and they haven't done anything after that. And that's not helpful to me. So I think just identifying people that are gonna be good for your team. And I think that a lot of that is just listening to them and their why and figuring out why they want to do it. Are they doing it because they just want some extra fun money? Or are they doing it because they love the products and they want to earn products for free? And so I think if you know why they're wanting to do it, then they're going to do better for you, because you're going to know how to help them more versus just, I guess not listening and having them sign up. I mean, maybe they didn't really want to sign up. And when I look back at girls who have joined who didn't do anything beyond me giving them their party that I did for them, I think, well, maybe I kind of just pushed them into it. Maybe they didn't really want to do it. And so I think just paying attention and listening to their needs and their why, and just making sure you're building a strong team, not just recruiting to recruit and build your numbers, but making your team strong.
Awesome. Okay, if you can hang with us for 3 more minutes, we're almost there. Jen, will you share with us your tip on meeting numbers where you are now?
Did you say meeting numbers or members?
Sorry, what you had talked about importance of meeting numbers now.
Oh, and that might have been a typo. I meant to say team members.
Oh, well,
okay?
go for it. Whatever tip you have.
Sorry, autocorrect. I think really what I wanted to touch on was whether it's a potential recruit or a team member that you actually have on your team already is, and we had a similar conversation like this tonight, Kirsten, is just really growing the personal relationship with them so that you see really where they're at and what they're doing with their business and what they need to be doing with their business, or maybe what they want to be and what's going on in their life. When I look at my team and the team members that I have that I have a good relationship with, because obviously that has to be, reciprocal, it has to be a two-way street. The people who have reached back when I've reached forward to them to have a relationship with, and I really know where they're at and what they're going through and what other things they have going on in their lives and things like that. It's easier to help them out to really, plan for either their goals for starting their business or their goals for continuing their business, and how to help them get to that point. So I'm sure all of you, either have a team member that is close to you, or I guess even a friend that you could think about that is, that comes to you for help, or that you want to help. And when you have a good relationship with them and you know their personality, you can really help them meet those goals better. And I think that's part of what our lineage is. That's kind of the culture of our lineage, is having not just being directors and teammates, consultants and senior directors and senior consultants, but we're all kind of like a close friendship thing or a family thing for us. So really investing the time in the people that are, you should be investing the time in. I mean, there are girls who are, like Samantha said, there's girls that join your team and never do anything, and that's just the way that it is. Everybody has them. But to not overlook the fact that we build a relationship with the people so that we can help them best meet their goals and meet them where they're at. Because maybe they really want to do more, but they just don't know how. Or maybe they're struggling and they need to just get some advice on how to kind of hand things out and work things out with time management or with hostess coaching or whatever it may be. But really meeting people where they're at, I think is really important to make sure that we have a good relationship so that when they're ready to move up, or when they're just ready to say, a hobbyist, but they're a great consistent team member, but we always know where they're at and how to meet them at exactly, the needs that they have.
Awesome. Great reminder. Thank you. And the last stat I'll share with you is as Samantha was talking about with the roots of your tree and then your branches, kind of think about, will branches die sometimes? Yes. Okay. So when you're thinking about your branches, it's good to remember kind of for every 6 team members you have, this is typically the stats. 2 will eventually fall off. 3 will kind of be your consistent partier, at least 1 party a month, and 1 will be your leader. Okay, that's for every 6. So when you have people fall off, don't think it's you. I mean, there might be some things you could do better, yes, but that's going to happen. That's natural. So that is why we have to be recruiting every single month in order to be able to account for attrition, because that's normal. So make sure that we're recruiting enough that we're getting those partiers and those leaders on our team to compensate for the ones that will fall off, like Samantha talked about. We're all going to have those. That's just part of our business. We have one of the lowest turnover rates in direct sales, but we still have turnover, and that's okay. Okay. So don't think when you have somebody fall off at some point that, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible leader. That happens to everyone. Okay. Make sure you really go over this handout. We didn't go over it a ton. It doesn't really have a title, but it says be the leader you would follow at the top. But there are some really great tips there. I'll just kind of point out the 2 at the bottom. A leader helps devise a plan for success. Are you helping your girls come up with their success plan? Okay. We help them become successful. They're not going to just become successful on their own, more than likely. Some people are just go-getters, but for the most part, are you helping them come up with a success plan? And the responsibilities of a leader, they're right on the top of the 2nd page. These are great to make sure that you're implementing these into your business. And first and foremost is maintaining a positive mental attitude. We talked about that last week, but I can't think of a more important attribute for a leader, that you're really growing a positive mental attitude. So make sure to check all those things out. Okay, that is it for our recruiting. So I will be posting what we're going to be working on this week. Next week, I know next week is Thanksgiving week. So make sure my family's driving in from Colorado on Saturday, but I already told them I have an hour. I'm going to be gone on Tuesday night. So they know. So I know it's a busy week, but make sure you're making plans to be with us for our last call next Tuesday, where we're going to go into hostess coaching and finish strong. So thanks for hanging with me. I've got the recording, so I'll be posting it if you want to listen to the recruiting interview again or anything that we talked about. And if anybody has any questions, we'll stay on the line for a few minutes. And for the rest of you, have a great night. Bye. Any questions on anything? Anyone? Bueller? Okay. Well, then I think we are good, and we will post the homework tomorrow, and then we'll work on our recruiting all week. All right. Bye, girls. Have a great night.